I heard this new quote that I think Alex Hormozy said it when he was interviewing somebody else, but it says, everybody wants the views, but no one wants to take the hikes. And like, that's the thing is, dude, I'll take the hike every day. Even if I don't want to, I'm learning to just discipline. Is probably the thing I'm actually enjoying the most about this journey right now, today. And discipline's not easy, and it never comes easy. Getting out of bed, getting in the cold plunge, getting in the sauna, eating the good food, saying no to stuff, forcing yourself to make phone calls you don't want to do.
Hey, what's up, To The Point listeners? It's your boy, Cristiano, the host of To The Point Home Services Podcast. And I have a great co-host with me today, and that would be Mrs. Anna Yano. Are you excited to be on here?
Super excited. It's
going
to
be
be
great. Super excited. But to my right, I have one of my good buddies, one of our good buddies, Mr. Thomas Mello. Thomas Mello, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, I love being here. I'm much louder than you guys.
Dude, this is going to be a different podcast for you, and I'm so excited. So to all of our listeners, I'm going to do a brief intro on Tommy Mello because most of you already know who he is. But this podcast is not, I repeat, not going to be all about business. It's not.
Good.
You have a podcast.
The
home service experts, hundreds of podcasts, tons of information on there. You've probably seen Tommy speak at a keynote in just about any industry you can think of. As author of a few books, like a good friend of ours. So I'm grateful to have him in my circle because I've got we have a great little peer group where we get to share business information. But that is not this. You know, there is a whole other side to Tommy Mello that not a lot of people get to see.
Yeah.
And I think that we are privy to it. And there's a lot of really, really good stuff on that side of Tommy Mello. But, for those who don't know who Tommy Mello is, built the best nationwide garage door company. What, 200 million, get 200 million, I think the goal.
I think we'll do 270 this year.
Holy shit. So a couple bucks, point being is he built a fantastic business. He's a great human being. And we've been lucky to be friends with him and get to know, Tommy personally as well. And so I don't think there's any questioning the level of success, that you've had. And for those who don't know, like all you gotta do is just Google Tommy Mello. Okay. There's not many, there's only one. There might be another Thomas Mello, but he ain't you.
My father. Yeah.
But he ain't you. But I do want to talk about, one thing right out of the gate, and that is, are you embracing your new Fendi slip-ons?
Yes, that was classic. Don't wear flip-flops out in Vegas is what we learned. So I wore those the other day. I kind of felt douchey, to be honest. I'm just not a Fendi guy, but I'm trying to embrace the Fendi lifestyle.
Well,
they look good on you. They look good.
Yeah, listen. So it's for our listeners. This is totally not Tommy. That's what makes it so great. But we were in Las Vegas and we went to dinner. Where were we going to dinner at?
Toca Madera.
And apparently, no matter even if you're Tommy Mello, you can't go into flip flops. So
no flip flops.
The only close stores were these super high end fancy stores. So Tommy ended up with a pair of Fendi slip-ons.
Yeah.
And we made it to dinner.
I felt like we deserved to be in like Naples or Connecticut or something because I felt really preppy, but we do have a picture with my shoe at my face.
That's true. But you felt good, didn't you?
It felt good.
You felt good. Yeah. I think they're like a blue suede with a buckle on them, right?
Yeah. Well, they're black.
They're black.
Nice. Yeah.
They're black. Are you sure?
Black. I think they're dark blue.
They might be very, very, very dark blue, but I'm pretty sure they're black.
Okay. Well, you've worn them more. So, and by the way, it was dark when we went in there. So, but this is not about Fendi slip-ons.
No.
I mean, it's just, it's part of like what I appreciate about you too, is you are completely okay and comfortable with yourself and just doing whatever the hell you want. And also trying to get the wait staff to come and work for you. Like Larry.
Yeah.
What would Larry do?
Absolutely.
But it just, you're so much fun, to be around too. And I appreciate that about our relationship, that we can kind of joke around with one another. And, there's a lot of layers to the, onions have layers. There's a lot of layers to Tommy.
Yeah.
And I think that most always hear about all the business stuff because that's what Tommy loves to talk about. That's what you do.
He sure does. I have to yell at him all the time that we're not talking business anymore.
That's true. And so I made like a last minute pivot on this podcast. And I thought, man, like what else can I talk to Tommy about that I haven't heard him say like 50 times already, or different variations of things. And you always come up with something new though that I haven't heard. But I thought, this is going to be a lot of something news that I haven't heard, and nor have our listeners. So I
Yeah.
think this is going to be great because there's no denying. I'm really going to pump you up here. There's no denying that you know how to grow a large, successful business and maintain a fantastic culture. So people love you because you do it the right way. And I love that about you. So behind that though, like you didn't just have those skills, you had to learn those skills.
Yeah.
And you are a human being first. You have a personal life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to tap into a little bit is the
Good.
personal
Yeah.
life of Thomas Mello. Are
All
you
right.
okay with that?
Here we go.
Great. But first, I'm going to give you an easy softball because I'm curious to hear what your answer is on this. But if you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you want to learn from them?
Ooh, historical figures. And what would I want to learn? What's pretty interesting is you watch that show, The Men Who Built America. They all really got into philanthropy later in life, whether it was Carnegie, Rockefeller, any of these guys. They wanted to build something big. They helped change the direction of the whole world with the industrial revolution. I mean, I got obsessed with Einstein for years and the theory of relativity in space and dark black matter and black holes. But I don't think I could keep up. I don't think I'd understand Einstein. I think he would be talking way over my head. I've never really contemplated. Obviously, it would be cool to really meet Jesus Christ. Would be pretty amazing.
Well, you'll get your chance,
but
hopefully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there are. That's a great question. I'd have to go to.
You gave a couple answers.
I did. I mean, if you wanted me to pick one, let's just go with those answers I gave you.
Yeah,
I was thinking with all this weightlifting, it was going to be the Incredible Hulk.
Arnold back in the heyday would have been cool because that guy, like, he changed everything about the way people take care of themselves. He made it popular, and he was the most winning guy out there, Mr. Olympia, 6 or 7 times. But yet he didn't just do that. He became the governor.
That's right.
And he was a great actor. He's done a lot in his life. He went through different chapters and phases. And, Arnold would be a great guy. I mean, I think he's definitely up there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they hit him in the heyday, and just be able to question him would be amazing as well because he took care of himself. He was a role model to a lot of people. I know he did cheat on his wife with his maid. Probably not the best thing.
They all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Give me your best Arnold impression.
Oh, God. I'll be back.
Get to the chopper. Okay. So that was the easy question. This would actually probably be a pretty easy one too. But I talk about all the success that you've had and that you're still having. And, you are out there. You do so many keynotes. We were just talking ahead of the podcast. You've done hundreds of podcast episodes that aren't even your own, that are with others. You're out there. People want to be around, Tommy Mello. How do you keep your ego in check?
That's what's funny is I was talking to Keegan because I just got back from Nantucket. And, I think what happens is people change dramatically when they really get money. And there's other people that don't. And I don't know. I still don't feel like it. Sometimes I got to pinch myself. We got that beautiful house.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, the expression more money, more problems is kind of a real thing. I was thinking the other day.
I think it's mo money.
Because you got a lot more to worry about. There's all kinds of staffing issues and stuff just on the personal side. You guys are going through it right now. But what I would tell you is, look, I still feel like I got a lot of work to do. And I think that'll be the rest of my life. A lot of people wonder if they're going to have real friendships when they become successful because they're like, why do people want to hang out with me? Well, I'll tell you, every woman I think wants a man who's successful and every man wants a woman that's successful. Like, I don't know who I heard talking about this the other day. It was, Brad Lee. He was like, what, you don't think a woman should want you to have a great living and be able to take care of the kids and vice versa? Like, she's dumb if she doesn't. Mm-hmm. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't let it get to my head at all. Like, the hard part for me is when I'm at an event and someone asks me like a really, really dumb question. Like, what would you do if you were me and you were at $300,000 a year? I'm like, dude, I have to go back to when I was 19. Like,
There are dumb questions, right?
and I get it. They're genuinely wanting to know. I'm like, listen, I make sure one thing that I will tell you is I make sure I'm in the right industry. If you're going to pour a decade into something, make sure you can do something with it. But yeah, I think I'll always be humble. I think that's one of the main things is like, I will never let it get to me, but I also understand that you got to start protecting your time because Bree needs time. I'm going to have kids. My parents need time. My niece and nephews need time. Friendships need time. And it's hard to be a machine and just be all the time on. And that's why I feel bad for guys like Tom Cruise. He can't even he could go out anywhere. He could go to some remote island in India and he's going to get attacked. And I think that just seeing the little bit I have, I actually enjoy it because I talked to Damon John and he's like, I like that people come up to me because I can help change their future. Like he loves business. It's not like somebody goes up to him and says, hey, sing me this note because you're one of the best singers like Paul Abdul or something like that, or Jay-Z or whatever.
Oh, Sade.
Yeah, Sade. So I don't know. I think I'll always be this way and I'll always remember where I came from.
Okay. I'm going to let you go down this path.
Okay.
But, since you brought up Tom Cruise, I just want to share a funny Tommy story real quick. Again, going back to our Vegas trip. Larry, who was an exceptional server. You would agree, right?
Yeah,
because you wanted to get him on board at A1. He declined, but it was a server who looked he had a beard and he was bald, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Tommy said, "Hey man, everybody ever tell you look like Tom Cruise?" He said, "No." And he goes, "Yeah, that doesn't surprise me." It was funny. It was a funny joke,
and he liked it and appreciated it.
He did.
He was great. He was very, very good. And I think some of the best people come out of the hospitality industry because they're just used to dealing with clients they might not want to deal with and just generally good with people. I mean, you look at how Four Seasons hires people that genuinely are interested in other people. Like they don't have to pretend to say, hello, how are you today? Mm-hmm. They actually mean it. And you could tell they mean it. And Larry was one of those guys that he genuinely was like, you're in a great city. And I want to make sure you guys are having a great time.
Yeah, dude, he was on fire. Okay, I don't want to go down the Larry path, but that was really good.
Okay. So I really love renovating, and we were incredibly blessed that Bree and Tommy invited us and our children to their house for Thanksgiving in 2023. So we got to spend an entire family day with their entire family. And for those that know Tommy, they know how important his mom and dad are to him. And they had this wonderful 40th birthday celebration, and you did this beautiful dance with your mom. So I'm going to bring it back to your family. How has your family influenced your journey as a leader, and how do you prioritize your relationships while managing your demanding career?
Yeah. So, the way I describe it is I got mom, dad, and Kia, my sister, 6 years older. My dad was always like very competitive. Like he did never take it easy on me. When we played sports, when we shot pool, when we played darts, it was like he was.
This is why you play Golden Tee the way you play
yes.
Golden Tee.
And my dad's got a Golden Tee now.
Don't be shook down by Tommy Mello playing Golden Tee. This is your warning.
My dad would antagonize me when I lost, and he'd rub it in. And so he was like this whole goal of aspire to be number one. Like he never really appreciated it unless I won. And that was in team sports too. So that's why I became a sore loser, especially like middle school, high school, man. I needed to play wrestling because I could only blame myself. Golf, I could only blame myself. Otherwise, I was a sore loser. I'd like bully other guys. I'd be like, dude, you suck. But mom was always just like, whatever you want to do. She worked 3 jobs when I was a kid. My grandma and I became best friends because she was over all the time. She would feed me out. Sometimes mom had to work late. But with the aspiration to be number one from dad and unconditional love from mom, I think it was a pretty powerful combo. And then my sister, she just figured out she wasn't going to let alcohol. She drinks wine, but she's not going to let alcohol be a thing because my dad drank. And she was never going to slow down because my mom in her later years is not as active. And she's like, I always want to be super active. And Kia's got 3 beautiful kids. I got 2 nephews and a niece, and it's fun watching them grow up because they're such good kids. And they got the world at their feet. Emma's getting ready to go off to college next year. Then Nate, then Ty, by the way, if they don't go to college. They're not good with it, but I'm good with it because, even though I did get a master's degree, I don't think you need school as much as you might have needed it a decade ago. But they're very important. And what I've done is move them closer to me. Mom moved out Dad moved out in 96. Mom moved out in 2010. And I still want my mom to be way closer, but I get to see my dad a couple of times a week. He was at the house when I pulled up from Nantucket driving the Chevelle around, skidding out in the driveway. But I think it's important. I think getting people closer that I could just stop by and have dinner. That's really where I want to get to the point in the next couple of years is like either I'm going to mom's or dad's house and a couple nights I'll just me and Bree. And I know that'll be harder on Bree because she's really the opposite of me. Like she loves people, but I don't mind if there's someone over every night.
Right.
And it's hard for her.
Yeah.
So I got to compromise. Like she's like, oh my God, the house is empty today. I'm like, okay, we've got people now working here. It's going to be busy all the time. But some people can't handle that. Some people hate that.
I couldn't have people over all the time like that.
I know.
And that's actually one of the questions I had later on is kind of around that because I understand you like to be around people, and actually in a lot of ways I do too. But there's definitely times when I like to be by myself or to have nothing to do or nobody to talk to and no expectations of me. So I want to go back to something real quick. You kind of talk about you being a sore loser and your dad antagonizing you, and I try to think through like, man, how am I with Mason? Like my son is 13, Mason. And I'm like, man, like, what do I do that he's probably gonna be like later on in life? It's like, God, my dad was an asshole. He used to do X, Y, Z to me. Or did it maybe teach him a lesson? I try to be thoughtful around those things. But what's interesting is that I 55 days ago, I left Texas and I had to go do like a reset. I went over there because I had to. This was a podcast that aired earlier. I had to go and like hit a reset button on all four phases of my life: my family, my faith, my fitness, and my finance, which we talked about on your episode. 4Fs, yep. So I went and put myself through that. And one of the big things I had to do right out of the gate was they said to me, you had to everybody has a deep, dark cave where they have shit in there that nobody wants to know about or nobody knows about. And we're going to pull all that stuff out, put it out in front, and we're going to talk about it. This is what one of the first things they said to me. Uh-huh. So think emotionally, forget business. Like this is not business related. This is you, like personal related. So when I think about, I think it's equally as important to share that journey, especially when you're past it, like when you're past it or you've come out of it and you've become successful or whatever. But I think sharing a part of the journey is the most important part of seeing the DNA or the things that a person has done to be successful. Forget just business, just in life in general. So you've been lucky in the sense of, well, we're lucky to know you because you are so successful in business and you are successful as just a good human being. So you've like hit the lottery in those two things. But we all have wounds from our past that we don't talk about because it's not fun to talk about those things. And I'm not asking you to share what those are. I'm sure you've got them or something like that. But how do you work on healing them? Because that's where a lot of people fall short is they don't, it's easy to work through things or keep yourself busy and then not deal with the shit that's in your deep, dark cave. Well, that's what I just had to go do in Texas. I had to go deal with the shit in the deep, dark cave. And I came out like a brand new man from that thing. But how do you deal with stuff like that? Are you still in the keep it bottled up phase or like, what are you doing?
There's a book called Shine by Gino Wickman where he talks about there's ayahuasca trips. There's different things people do. They get alone for 3 days just by themselves. What I've learned how to do is reflect. That started probably the beginning of COVID when I really had to analyze. We didn't know the PPP money or anything else. Like I didn't know if the whole world was going to die. Like everything became really different. Like we didn't know how deadly that was going to, like the first week was like, this is real. People are going to the hospital and some people aren't going to live. We knew that. Yeah. And so that's when the reflection started. And I find myself now on this health journey, way less alcohol, way less everything really that's not good for you, way less unhealthy food, way less sugar, way less caffeine. And you add it all up, my brain is actually a lot healthier. It's like I wake up earlier. I for the first time in my life, I became a morning person. Literally first time in my life since I was born. And I think reflection's a big deal. And, I got baptized, right? I'm going to church. I'm actually listening. I'm listening to the good voice. And the good voice is the good voice that says, go to bed. The good voices say, don't do that. And if you listen to that bad voice, it starts overpowering you. And I used to say, there's not enough time in the day. You guys don't understand. And now I realize there's 168 hours in a week. There's more than enough time. 50 hours of sleep, 50 hours of work. There's still 70 hours left. So you could go on a date with all your kids. You could go on a date with your mom. You could read your favorite book. You could watch your favorite show and still have plenty of time. I think time gets just thrown around because people are busy. They don't get a whole lot done. So these power walks I do, I mean, an hour in the morning, an hour at night, it really helps. It's my time. Yes, I have a couple of buddies that'll go with me here and there, but in general, spending time alone is really helpful.
Okay. So do you talk on those? Are you like on your phone or is it just silent?
I'll take a couple of calls rarely. Majority of the time, most of the time I'm actually listening to music, but I'm still thinking. It's not like I'm singing along. It's just something in the background that's like keeping me on pace. But really, I'm in my own head.
We know that you only sing along to Scatman.
Scatman. That's right.
It's a favorite.
We're going to say something.
Yeah, there's some stuff locked up still. You know, and I've gone to counseling and I've done some stuff. I will say I don't think I'm too big or good for counseling. You know, I think what they do is a great counselor or a therapist. They ask great questions and you kind of come to your own conclusions. It's another way to reflect and actually look down back at yourself and say, am I doing that? Do I do that right? Am I putting the right priorities straight? I started working with Dan Martell. He really helped me out a lot. He kind of said, listen, why don't you get a huge calendar and start prioritizing your vacations? Why don't you start identifying a year in advance where you want to go? Why don't you think back, pretend you're 75 and think back, what'd you do when you were 41? What'd you do when you were 42? Like, what did you do? Like Jesse Itzler, like, what's the big thing you did that year? Like if you said 2025, you know you did that one big thing.
Masogi.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Sounds like a
It's a Masogi. That's what actually where it came from was Jesse Itzler. That's a benefit that Rhino has. We adopted from Jesse Itzler in 2019?
2018 or
2018.
Wasabi?
Do you think you could go to a silent retreat where you spend 3 days?
You know, Bree
in
wants to do that
silence?
because you got her into that.
Yeah.
And that's not on the top of my list.
Can you imagine Tommy being quiet for 3 days?
It's like, how long can you hold your breath?
Well,
You would get kicked out.
you can talk to yourself, but you just don't have a phone. You don't have a TV.
I know.
You can eat and sleep and like think.
I went to Maryville, which is a really high-end kind of that kind of foo-foo stuff with my sister. And we went and learned how to just a different way of breathing. And then we learned how to manifest. We went to a manifestation class. And it was interesting. And this guy was like, he could feel your aura. And he told me, he's like, ooh, there's something there. And I'm like, dude, he was weird. But he made my sister start bawling. And he's like, you got something deep rooted with your mom. And, you know, he told me, he's like, so I'm feeling something here in your neck. Usually this indicates, because acupuncture is really all about knowing where the pressure points are. And there's moods and there's certain people that are associated with them apparently, but I don't mind doing it. I just can't, I don't want to do it in captivity for days. I'd rather have a 1 day and then learn to love it and then go 2 days. It's like, it's the same thing with cold plunge. I didn't get in there for 10 minutes the first time. I went in for a minute, you know, get myself acclimated.
Next year I'll have to do a sweat lodge.
Yeah. I love, I actually been forcing myself to sit 20 minutes in the sauna. Man, I cannot wait. I'm leaving town. I'm actually going to visit our Vahe. Got some stuff, but back tomorrow, and sauna is what I'm looking forward to.
I like a sweat better than being cold. I don't know, those cold plunges and getting in the machines, the cryo
You cannot
machines.
not smile when you get out of the cold plunge. It's like you're loving life.
Yeah, and we did that in your garage at like midnight.
Yes,
night.
I think it was 11:30.
That sounds weird, but there was a group of us that said, you know what, let's go ahead and end the night with the cold plunge.
It was great.
I was in Tommy Mello's shorts.
Yep.
They were slightly big on me.
Yeah. You're getting bigger though. You're working out. It's looking good.
Thank you.
Okay, Tommy. It is easy as you are successful to be surrounded by yes people, or to have people just want to be surrounded by you because they want to leverage your success or be part of the things that you are doing. How do you identify those people and prevent them from being part of your life?
You know, it was interesting. The other day we're at Morris Jenkins over in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And I explained to my team, there was 5 of us there. I said, guys, when we go in here, there's going to be a lot of things you guys love. But we're not Morris Jenkins. We're not Ghetto.
Yeah.
We're not Next Gen. we're A1. And so what I've learned is we're going to take 5 things away. We're all going to agree. And what I've realized is they fought me really hard on some stuff. And here's what I've learned, especially working with Cortec, with private equity, is like, if I'm passionate and want something so bad, they know usually it'll work like 90% plus.
Yeah.
Because it's my idea. But I've learned to pull the team in on that. But I've got a lot of people that say no. In fact, the majority of the people that are close to me say no more often than yes.
Yeah.
And it's something I've learned, but it was interesting because Dan Martell was talking to Brian, who works at the family office now, TMV. And he goes, Tommy just needs to know that he's heard. Because Tommy, and he tells Jim this too. He goes, has it ever happened to where Tommy would bring something up like 5 days later and you didn't tell them it's on the Monday board and here's when it's going to get revisited and here's the plan of that? A guy like me just needs to be heard and know it's on the docket and know that it's going to get slotted in and there's a timeline. So I've done a pretty good job of keeping people that disagree. I don't usually pull a trump card if it has to do with marketing or sales or growth. Like, here's where I pull out my trump card is like, people are like, we're just not ready to take that on right now. And I'm like, what would we need? Don't say no to me. What is it? Is it human capital or is it money? Because I think I can solve both of those, but let's not say no very often. Instead of saying no to me, you say, here's what we would need to make that happen on your timeline.
Yeah, how?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I don't mind anymore. I felt really bad because I made my CFO cry. And
not the current CFO,
not
right?
Not
Okay.
and he gets very emotional. All CFOs can get emotional. And, he didn't want to talk to me for a week. And Brian had calmed him down. And I called Luke and I called Adrian at A1 and I said, do I make you guys feel this way? And they said, no, but we've known you for a long time. And we know you come with the best intentions, but you don't sugarcoat it. You're really to the point. So
that was good.
Yeah. So I think I need to really realize when I'm being a certain way. And I'm working on it. My natural superpower is that I've got a lot of ideas. And it's probably that I have ADHD, and it's probably that I'm willing to jump in head first. So you don't want to pull that away. You don't want to make me somebody I'm not. But at the same time, there needs to be order. There needs to be organization. And I need to have good people around me that actually know how to put the dates and keep me organized and make sure I got the stuff available when I need it. Because if I have that, then I could go really far.
Well, you come up with so many ideas that also prioritizing.
Yeah, prioritizing all the time. And delegating very well. Like I love Upwork. I love Fiverr. Like there was a time where I lived on those websites because I'm like, I don't need to hire people. I just need these tasks done. And there's simple tasks. Some of them are they're not complicated. And now like we designed this Chamberlain thing and I'm like, let's just have Dan Antonelli do it because I think this is crap. And I want to clean it up, make it readable, make it legible, and like keep our brand. And the first thing Dan said is, where's your truck? Well, that's like the main thing Dan always talks about is put your wraps on the postcards. And so I'm like, a lot of times we have the resources, but we don't use them.
Yeah.
We're paying all these companies everywhere. We're paying Valpak for mailers, right? They've got 100 designers, but yet a lot of times the team wants to bring on somebody. And this happens to be personal life too. Like I'm finally getting comfortable saying, hey, can you iron this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Because I feel like I'm humble, but yet we pay them to do these things.
Chris and I go back and forth with this because we have an assistant at the office and one at the house. And I'm like, nope, I'm passing everything. And it's not like a lack of humbleness. It's like, I know how valuable my time is and how important it is to do the other things that I can't do. And those are things that they're there for.
It's about buying your time back. It's about efficiency.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's exactly why we do it. Like we get home and everything's done. We can just be together as a family because everything else is so demanding. So
and who likes doing laundry?
I hate laundry and I hate mopping.
What's your least favorite chore?
I'm never mopping.
I would say, I washed dishes for so long. Like I don't mind doing dishes if it's a really good setup. Like at a restaurant, you're like set up. But like washing dishes in like this little sink area, like you give me a dishwash. But washing dishes is by far worse, I think, than laundry.
Have you been a dishwasher somewhere before?
I used to watch dishes at Rookies Clubhouse.
Oh, I did know that.
For 3 years,
know that.
yeah.
Wow.
And I really didn't mind
I know what you're doing Saturday night.
I'll tell you this. Sorting silverware is right up there with sorting socks. That's why I throw out all my socks once a year and just buy the exact same pair. So there's no matching. Just throw them all in there. You know what I mean?
Do forks disappear at your house?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't even know.
I see them in there and it seems like it's full.
We have disappearing forks and spoons at our house. We've got lots of knives, but no forks and spoons.
I really have no idea how to segue out of this one.
Sorry.
back into my questions.
I'm adamant, like when they pack me lunch tonight, like I put the fork back in the thing. Like, I don't know why, but like I go around A1 and turn off all the lights. Like I adjust the thermostats more than anybody in that building. Like I'm still like, remember these things.
What it's like.
You know, you've heard the term, how you do anything is how you do everything, or any variation of that. Big believer in that. Like I can walk into the men's restroom at Rhino and see a piece of paper on the floor.
I just did that the other day.
Pick
I
it up.
cleaned the mirror.
Yeah.
But then it's something as simple as just changing out like the paper towels. And to me, it's like, that's like what you do. You pick
or the
you
parking
pick it up.
lot. Like if I see something, piece of paper, like I'm out there picking stuff up and I watch people from a distance that don't. And I'm like, man. And I just talked to one of my top guys yesterday for an interview for our Thursday. And I said, how important is a clean truck? And this guy's super clean. And he's like, it's my office. Yeah. He's like, I keep it immaculate. And clients appreciate that. And they say, I want to work with a guy like you that stays clean and respects himself and respects the company he works for.
I think you can tell a lot about somebody's car. That's one of my philosophies is if you look at their car, you're going to see a lot about them and their closet organization.
There is OCD too. There's the people that can never get anything done because they're so busy.
Yeah,
there's a happy medium.
100%. Okay, maybe I'll give you a segue. What is a commonly given piece of advice you disagree with?
Ooh.
A common
piece of advice that he disagrees with?
Yeah.
I will say that everybody says, pay your people more, pay your people more, pay your people more. I'm about performance pay. I just have never seen anything that's granted to somebody to get them to actually invest in your ideas more. So I'm about heavier performance pay. Yeah. A lot of people say, give them a livable wage, like 60 or 70 grand as a base. And if I could get that base down, not to say I want to cheap out, but I'd rather raise the bonus. So if I said, hey, Anna, what would you rather make? $40,000 a year with a 20% bonus or 30% bonus, but not on your salary. It would be like some type of performance pay. Or would you rather have a 10% kicker at 70 grand? Like,
I'd rather control my money.
I want people that have a higher limit.
Yeah.
Like they don't have a limit. So pay structures really matter a lot. And another thing is when everybody says raise your prices, there's a caveat to that. Raise your service. Get out there the same day. You can compete on 3 things: product and warranty and craftsmanship, timeliness, getting out there the same day. And the third one is price. I think you really got to go deep in the other 2 if you're going to raise your prices. Yeah. You got to be out there the same day with a smile, with a great warranty, with a great, brand new truck, with the best trademark parts. But there's a lot of things I disagree with that I hear people talk about. Like, here's one of the biggest things. Although I want to run the business where I don't need to be there, I don't like people that want a lifestyle business. Yeah. I don't want to ever invest or get behind somebody or agree with somebody that says, oh, I just want that passive income, but I don't want to be there. Like, unless you're going to hire a really good CEO. Right. Like, if you're Warren Buffett, I get it. Like, you can place somebody in there to run the business, but a lot of people, they just want this passive 200 grand a year, but they don't want to hire the people to come in and do it. So I could go on and on about other things, but another thing, the first thing people cut is marketing. And I disagree with that. And like a buddy reached out to me with a garage door company and said, I don't know how to get leads. I said, do what I did. Go get the relationships. Like you obviously can't compete on pay-per-click. Right. You can compete on reviews, but still I'm like, go find HOA presidents, go to B&I groups. Like no one's going to be able to no algorithm's going to change that. Right. Like go meet the people. If you're not running a job, you should go out, meet realtors and talk to the bigger realtors.
Relationship marketing.
Relationship.
That's right.
How much do you think that your like Tommy Mello persona has actually lent itself to growing A1?
Everybody asks me what's bigger, Tommy Mello or A1. And it's very difficult because we put a lot more time, effort, and energy into social media for Tommy Mello, whereas A1's more Google. I think right now I'm trying to repay A1 because A1 built up Tommy Mello.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to repay. So one of the things I'm doing with content is going to be doing interviews in garages. I'm going to be talking to like Robert Kiyosaki with a 5-minute interview on the big, like
he's local, right?
Yeah, he lives in Scottsdale. So like any opportunity I can do to bring the garage and let people know we're the garage company. Like I'm working, I think I told you guys I'm buying a car from Richard Rawlings. He does the fast gas grease monkey, whatever.
Told me.
And I'm overpaying like crazy, but he's got 26 million followers. So I want to learn something with him in the process. 26 million on YouTube.
It's a lot of people.
So yeah, so that's an opportunity for me. So what is he known for? Cars. I'm getting a 67 Chevelle convertible from him, right? And he's going to put me on the show. And it's also going to be decked out A1 garage doors. Like it's all going to be A1. So I'm killing like, number one, it's a write-off. Number two, it'll be in every freaking home show out there. Number three, I'm going to learn a lot. Number four, I'm going to get A1 a lot of publicity. There's like a million reasons why, but I'm overpaying like crazy because it's Richard Rawlings.
Yeah.
Will it be your favorite car? Or what is your favorite car?
Ooh.
In your collection?
Oh God.
I had to caveat that with in your collection.
You know what? The Batmobile I just ordered.
Yeah.
It's the old Adam West Batmobile. I think that wants to get my eyes on that. But I will say, I asked my dad before. I was always doing well. I always did well. I had investments and I owned the apartments and I had lots of money in the bank, but nowhere near where we're at today. And I asked my dad before the deal was finalized, you know, Dad, what's your favorite car? He said, a red 67 Chevelle convertible. That's what my Uncle Ed had. So there's a lot more to that car than just me. It's a lot to do with my dad too.
Yeah, well, which is cool. That's why part of what I love about you too, man, is the sentimental side to you.
Yeah, I'm like a big kid.
Well, so let's. I'm gonna wrangle this back in for just a second again because I was like, hey, this is not. This is why you so don't much invite business. Me. But there is this is something that I've had to deal with too. And I'm curious to see how you handle this. And maybe you don't have the same battle, but I used to have these internal battles or, insecurities that I still struggled with, even though I was having success. You have had significant more success than me. But do you have like any internal battles or insecurities that you still struggle with, even though you've accomplished so much and that you're a good human being?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I looked in the mirror, when my cousin called me and I wasn't taking care of myself and I let myself go. And it wasn't like I got to be 300 pounds and just falling apart, but it wasn't comfortable even being at a barbecue with my shirt off. That was big. And that's something I knew I could do something about. And this idea of just your energy's off because you're not sleeping right. Like most of the stuff I've done stuff about, but there's definitely stuff that I feel like one of my biggest things is I used to know everybody at A1. I used to know their wives or husbands. I used to know their kids' names. And I feel like sometimes I'm a failure because of that. Like some people were like, hello, Mr. Mello the other day. I've never met them. And I'm like, oh, call me Tommy. but it's like, I'm trying to create a process and I'm kind of building it into the payroll system that I recognize birthdays and anniversaries and the day you got married on it. If your kid's got a birthday, I know I can't know the people like I used to. It would be impossible. But to still have a little bit of communication and create systems around that's something that's really big to me because some people come up to me, they're like, we don't ever even see you anymore. We don't even, guys I used to hang out with on a weekly basis. I lived at the apartments for 4 years.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to come talk to me, they knew where they could find me. If they were dropping off a guy that they just did a ride along with back to the apartments, I'd be out there shooting the shit with them. So that's a really big one. And then I still feel like I need to be with mom and dad more and my sister. And as much as I feel like I do, I still feel like I could do a lot more.
Got it. So recap would be not now, but you were like, I didn't like the way I looked.
Yeah.
Because we're not young pups anymore.
Spring chickens, fall chickens now?
When I was in my 20s, I couldn't get fat. I could do whatever the hell I wanted.
Yeah,
I could go to Subway and eat all the bread and cookies I wanted. I could drink every night. I still had not a perfect six pack, but it was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like I got to actually work for it. Yeah.
Well, it's working out pretty good for you.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So yeah, I mean, in just because that, like the one of not knowing all your employees, that would be a target that you would always miss if you thought you were going to learn that, because you continue to grow and scale. You can't know everybody and their kids and their families. It's not because you don't care. It's just that you can't. But when it is nice when you can reach out to people kind of off the, like even if you don't know them, but you learn something about them, you're the kind of guy that would reach out to them like one-off just to say, hey, I really appreciate you and the hard work you're doing.
Right.
Thank you.
I do that still. You know what I will say? Like, I did get a Rolex with Dale Steele.
I know. I saw that.
And I had those loafers on.
That's
So
right.
I had the Rolex and the loafers.
Okay.
I had a pullover shirt, and it was a little preppy. And I walked around a little bit imposter syndrome. Like, I'm like, this is not me. I'm like, so when we were in Nantucket, it was like, oh.
Oh, look at my Fendi slipper.
I was like, yes, sir. Bowl of water, please.
I'll have the lobster.
Yeah. I was like, fetch me a towel. I'm going to take a swim in the pool. But
with a hint of lemon.
that's a piece where, like, let's put it this way. Me and Ishmael are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, he's very proud of what he accomplished. I mean, he's an immigrant, right? He came here and lived the American dream, and I get what he's doing. If driving a DeLorean or a kit from Knight Rider is what people think, but I just don't want to bring that attention. And it's not because I'm afraid that people will know I have money, because I'm pretty sure everybody that listens to my podcast knows that A1's done really well. It's not like this thing I need to hide, but also, I don't know. It's like strangers that automatically got to look at you to perceive that. It's like, that's what strippers do. They look at your watch and your shoes, right? Like, apparently that's what they look at.
I don't know.
But that's
so they
Never
say.
been a stripper.
So they say.
So, like, those are two things that I'll be like, no, I don't have any money. When
So we'll get your flip.
the hocus.
No, those are expensive running shoes. Or your flip flops, you'd be just fine. I think another part of this is that it always seems like you are on the go. Well, it doesn't seem like you are always on the go. Like, you just got back from Nantucket.
Yep.
Came up here to hang out with us, and you're back over to, I'm guessing you're going to LA tomorrow. I think you said you're going to meet with R&B.
Yeah, Burbank. Yep.
Burbank. So, like, you kind of live in constant chaos.
We just hired a second executive assistant because there needed to be two. It's one of those things where, for what I want for everybody and myself, I still got time to be burning the candle. And I don't consider it burning the candle. But look, kids changed a lot of things. And that's hopefully in the future, right? So, I still feel broke sometimes. Well, I mean, the houses we've got and the things we're doing now is, it's like, look, I could work really hard, and I just, with what I want with the podcast and the people I know that I'm helping change their lives, their businesses. And when I talked about getting baptized, I think it meant a lot to a lot of people. And when I talk about getting in shape, and when I bring up my parents and having kids, you hit the 4 F's right there. So I'm just starting to bring a lot of that stuff more up in the podcast. And so I think I have an obligation to get as big as I can while still giving to my family and still making time for Jesus.
Yeah, but are you doing it?
I'll tell you what, I'm better than I was, but not where I want to be. What we're doing is getting on that calendar and just hitting this stuff. But I'm not one of those guys, Anna's very like, we're not going to talk about business. And I've always been, and I told you guys this, I need to talk less about business, but business because here's the deal. You don't get around a lot of people that have done well, that came from where you came from, that actually have a lot of the same things going through their mind. Because when I'm with mom and dad, I can't talk about business. Like, it makes no sense to them.
Right.
When I'm around my sister, and my niece and nephews, we're not talking about that stuff. And then a lot of the people that come over, it's not the same conversations either. So it's like, when you get those opportunities, sometimes you just want to do it.
Yeah, because it's what you enjoy talking about. And
with Peterman or Gainers coming in, like those guys, they actually enjoy talking about it. But at the same time, I'm like, how's Chase doing?
Yeah.
Your son, and he'll come over. and we'll talk about chicks he's dating. And it's fun.
I don't not enjoy it. I just enjoy talking about other things.
Oh, no,
as
no. Well, listen, women
well.
talk about a lot of other things. Like I've noticed, like growing up, I was around women, my mom, my sister, and my grandma, and my aunts. And like, I guess for me is like, they actually really enjoy talking about other things. I'll talk about sports. I'll talk, but realistically, I mean, it all usually comes back to like, because it's like, what are you guys going to do? Take a PJ out there? Oh, that's going to be what we're going to write that out. Now we're talking about taxes. You know what I mean? It's like no matter what, it seems like it goes back to there. It's like, hey, did you go? Like one of the things we always look at is Costco travel, because like you could still like you get really great packages. And I'm like, if you're going to talk about vacation, you're going to talk about, well, where did you guys go? How much did you spend? What was your favorite things to do? And certain things, I'm going to cut all the lines. Like, I don't care what it costs, Cedar Point or Disney World. There's no way I'm ever not getting that VIP pass.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You never, once you go there, you can't go back.
But it's still a question, like, who'd you go with? How much did you guys spend? I don't know why. It's like, but I don't really have a budget. I just want to know. You know what I mean? I'm not like, there's no way I'm going to go if it's more than this. But
so everything kind of keeps coming back to business. You're
a
right.
lot of times it does, you know?
Yeah, we just stayed in South Carolina at a place, and it was a part of the Yano family properties, like equity estates that we invested in. That's in multiple homes. So like, yes, we went and had vacation there, but we also wanted to make like a good business decision. And so
you were telling me about
it does kind of keep coming back to that. I can see how that happens in conversations, but I think part of what I know you don't like, you do like to do this to an extent, but it fizzles out fast, and that is going to concerts. So Tommy's not a great concert goer. You like to go, but as far as singing along,
I'm nowhere near where you guys are at. I'm not like a concert guy all the time. Like a perfect concert to me is a couple hours, and it's like when we went to, we got our own space. But a lot of me at that concert was like they had flames, and they were laughing, they were supporting their staff, they were telling their story, you know, like a lot of like this is a dream to me, being out here is at Morgan Wallen, and I just appreciate the showmanship.
Yeah,
and it gives me ideas. That's what my brain does. Is just like, you know, I'm on a lot of stages. I'm like, dude, I need to think my team more. I need to do this. I need to do this. So I was taking
when we have flame shooting out.
Yeah, when you have
flame guy.
Yeah.
Flame guy.
I know what's happening at the next show.
A great role.
Okay, so I'm going to make one hard pivot because you brought it up a couple different times. And I'm going to go, you started talking about, well, you started showing it recently too. And I can remember where I was at when where you're at in your faith journey. I remember that place. And then you're like, okay, there's still some uncomfort in talking about it because you're still learning. I'm talking about me, but maybe you can relate. Like this was a while ago for me, but you're just like starting to put it out there. And I love that for you. Because you had said, I think it was really, I took a note on it, that, you know, part of you wanting, there's some philanthropy that was in, like something that you were trying to hope to learn, or some of the most successful people who became philanthropists later in life. That's something along those lines. And like, it's kind of ironic that that's really what you are falling into, is you're a giver, but like you know, when you get into your faith, just by sharing your journey or sharing the things that you're learning, regardless of where you're at, is such a great gift to people who also might not be comfortable talking about it yet,
right?
Which is weird. Like it shouldn't be uncomfortable, but it is. Like it is uncomfortable until you figure it out, and then you got to figure out who you can talk to about it, and then you got to be like, who can I ask questions to? And then it's like, hey, Tommy, I prayed for you today, and you're like, oh, this feels weird. Like, so there's that phase. You'll go through that. You're probably in that right now still. And then like there's the point when you're like, oh, I'll be the one who prays over dinner. Like it's the whole faith journey.
Right.
You're probably going through some of these things, but you're doing it and you're actually putting it out there publicly. And I really appreciate that, because I think that like with your reach, that's a big reach to share that message to, what that's of like really, really good. Like you talk about when we meet Jesus Christ, like this is probably one of the platforms you've been given to serve the masses with, just sharing this story. So you've went through the things. We've kind of peeled the onion of the Tommy Mello journey in your life a little bit, even though it went sideways again and always goes back to business, pretty much like every other conversation. But your faith journey. So what I wanted to say is, I love that you're doing it. And I love that you're sharing it, and I hope you stick with it. And I hope that you're like, I am, me and Anna both are people you could talk to about it and answer, like ask questions about it. And like, we will get it, and we will, some things we will know, some we won't. But you should be comfortable talking to us because we're friends like that. Right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have to, like, we're friends like, and that's who we always want to be to you or to people that we're close with, is we want it to be like, sweet, we can talk business. We can talk about the deepest things. And like, there's no judgment. Like, we're all here to talk to each other. But why is it important for you now to start sharing that? One, I think it's going to be awesome on like with baptism. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then why? Like, why are you sharing this now?
Yeah, well, I was raised as a born again Christian, right? Went to private school early on, and then I switched to public school. But when my dad he almost died during COVID, and it was close. His oxygen levels dropped to like really, really low. When my sister called me and said, your dad's, I don't know why, when it's bad news, it's my dad, but it's our dad.
Yeah.
She said, Dad's getting ready to die.
Oh.
And so I started bawling, and I prayed on the way there. I was screaming, and I was just pounding the steering wheel. And, I made a deal with God. I said, look, I know you've been really great to me. I've always believed in Jesus, but I get my distance and then I come back.
Yeah.
And so I made a deal, and I said, from now on, I'll pay you tribute if you let my dad live. I said, I don't know if you could do that. And I grabbed my dad's hand, and he was barely awake, and he said, I'm not ready to go. And he's doing great. And this guy called me up about a year later, and he goes, remember where I was at work. I was in my office. I was walking around pacing, and I go, hey, I'm just getting back to you, man. What's going on? He goes, you don't know me very well, but I know you. And he said, did you make a deal with Jesus in the last year or 2 or 3? I don't know.
Wow.
And I'm like, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, I did. He goes, were you on your hands and knees crying? And I'm like, in fact, I was. And he goes, well, listen, I've only had this happen once in my life, and I'm just a messenger. But remember, just as quick as he gave it to you and the promise you made, he could take it away. I got goosebumps.
Whoa, yeah, that's crazy.
So, I've always been annoyed by the football players that take a knee and the people that use their forearm for the wrong stuff. But when you believe so strongly, I always say, listen, this is what I believe. Because there are people that believe in other things. And I believe that the Bible's real. And I believe that every word in there is real. I do not believe in a lot of other religions that still say they believe in Jesus, for whatever that's worth, but they don't want to choose certain parts of the Bible. They pick and choose. They don't believe that God would ever be bad. They don't believe that, there's anything. If God was so strong, why would he even have death? Why would something happen to kids? And that's a valid concern, and I understand where they're coming from. But, if you believe in the Bible, and you believe everything. And people say, well, the world, what about the apes? Over time. Evolution. And it's evolution. And I'm like, yeah, that's, have you read the Bible? And I've been fascinated lately. I've been watching all these documentaries on Israel and the different historical things that have happened in like the Grand Canyon, how they've been able to prove it wasn't millions of years to create that erosion. So I like to learn from myself, and but faith is a very strong word. Faith is believing in something that you can't actually see right in front of you. So I think it's important that people understand that I do believe. That might not change where they're coming from, but I'm not embarrassed by it. Yeah. A lot of people get behind me in a big way. A lot of people, I think that if someone believes in Jesus, they tell you amen and you did the right thing. And if they don't, they just leave it where it was at, and they don't hate me because of it.
And that's okay.
And that's fine. And I'm not there to, my dad always says there's such a bigger reason you're here. And he prays all the time. He says, listen, I know you're just getting started. He goes, just have an open mind and go to church. And he's like, just it's going to happen. You're going to morph into what you were called for. I think I always tell people there's 2 important days in your life: the day you were born and the day you realize why you were born.
Yep. Yeah. That's good.
That's good. Okay. I don't know if this is the last question, but I'm going to give you one.
Okay. This is it.
Okay.
Make it a good one.
When you think about your legacy, what do you hope to be remembered for, both personally and professionally?
I would say when I get buried, or or my ashes get spread. I haven't figured that piece out. I hope it's outside, and I hope that everybody that's there, I know I'm going to lose some people along the way, but I hope everybody says I was a better person. He was funny. He made everything a little bit better. He always kept his word, and my life was better because Tommy Mello was in it. That's what I want. A business, family, friends, faith, fitness, every journey is that he added more value than he took. I
already think that.
That's the main goal. It's never going to be, and whatever he said he was going to do, like if he said he was going to do something, he freaking worked his ass off to get there. So, yeah, I mean, you never know when your day is. My good buddy, John Rulin, 4 daughters under the age of 15, died just on a hike. He wrote the book Giftology, just passed away. He was on the hike, had a heart attack. That's it. Not an unhealthy guy, not a drinker, not really anything he did bad. And he was with his family, and his wife's not doing great. She's sick as well. And it's like, what the hell? So you never know, man. I'll tell you what, I've known a couple of people other than Kobe in helicopter accidents, not great friends, but acquaintances. You could be at the wrong place, wrong time. Today was another school shooting, 4 kids they
Seriously?
know of. Yeah, in Atlanta. So
wow.
It's tomorrow's not promised, and spend time with the people. It's sometimes hard for me to spend like weeks with my parents. I mean, I've had to live with them, but I still want to be around them.
I don't think you need to give us an explanation on why. It's still hard.
I heard this new quote that I think Alex Hormozy said it when he was interviewing somebody else, but it says, everybody wants the views, but no one wants to take the hikes. And like, that's the thing is, dude, I'll take the hike every day. Even if I don't want to, I'm learning to just discipline is probably the thing I'm actually enjoying the most about this journey right now, today. And discipline's not easy, and it never comes easy.
Nope.
Getting out of bed, getting in the cold plunge, getting in the sauna, eating the good food, saying no to stuff, forcing yourself to make phone calls you don't want to do, reading books, whatever it might be. There's certain things I love to do, but there's certain things I just don't want to do them right now. And doing them is actually making me it feels a lot more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot better about it.
I think that I just had this conversation again that I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately now, but you have to choose your hard. Like everything's hard, but you can do the hard.
It's hard to be single. It's hard to be married.
You could be, that's fair. You can choose the hard stuff that gets you XYZ success, whatever it is, wealth, money, a great relationship, whatever. Or you can choose to not do the hard work and have the hard outcomes that come from that, where it's maybe not the success that you want. Well, you choose your hard. Which one do you want? Like it's going to be hard no matter what. So pick the one that's going to give you some success. And I think what you're talking about, a discipline, is difficult. Like if you're listening and you've like, oh yeah, it sounds great, but I can't do that. Well, that's half the battle, right? You think you can't do it. But mental fortitude is really the game that you're winning, is you're forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. And when you do that over and over and over and over again, you start to build that into your subconscious. Like you're the one willing to pick up the paper on the bathroom floor, even though you could have just walked by. You're the one that's getting up early, even though you don't have to, just because you want to beat the alarm clock, or you're the one doing the cold plunge and you don't really want to do it, or all the things, or getting up and traveling to LA when you don't but you're willing to do the hard work.
I don't want to go on this trip later. I do not like to go on half the walks I do, but once I'm going, I feel good about it. What I've learned to do recently is like pick a different direction. And I walk, especially when I don't know where I'm at. Like a couple times I've been lost in my own neighborhood. But like,
I've been lost in your neighborhood.
Get lost in your house.
It's easy. I put myself in a situation where I have to succeed. And like, I know like what's really cool about going to the different hotels all the time is there's different equipment. And like, it's a different setting. And like, I screwed up in Nantucket because like, they don't belong to a gym. Like they do, but they didn't rejoin it for the 2 months they're in Nantucket. So we walked a lot. I got steps in, but like, I'm like, man, I really feel like I failed at the gym, but also 3 to 4 days is actually good to like give your body a reset. But I'm like, man, like I was just so disciplined now that I like felt like a failure.
Disappointed. Yeah.
I was disappointed. Yeah. And now I'm like ready to jump back into it. And it's like, I feel like I missed 4 days. So now, but like I got a time, you know, the next, the freedom is on the 25th of this month. And then the next goal is the trip me and Brie are doing, Bora Bora. And then the next.
And Anna and Christiana.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, my mom and dad, and there's a lot to that story.
I was going to say, wait, aren't we on that same trip?
But that one I'm going to be shredded. And then I got the Pinnacle trip. So people are like, what's going to happen after freedom?
We're supposed to be going to Israel at some point in time, too. Do you remember that conversation?
I definitely, now's not the best time for Israel. I really do want to go to Israel and Bethlehem and the Holy Land.
TBD.
Yes.
TBD.
We'll pause on that one.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you driving up here, especially because you just got back from Nantucket.
Yeah.
And you didn't wear your Fendi shoes. I thought there was a chance you would actually wear them, but because you had them with you.
I did.
But man, I was excited to do an episode that was, you know, about you personally, to try and like show others the version that we see behind all the success and all the things that some people, you know, can't see past. And so, you know, we got through some of it. We still talked a little bit about business. So there's some chunks in there, but I appreciate you going along for the ride with me. I didn't prep Anna until like right before the podcast, and I certainly didn't prep Tommy.
It's a fun. It's fun because it's not all business. Although I will say, business and pleasure go hand in hand with me, and I you know, what's all this for? I mean, when you really start reflecting, I hope I'm not remembered as, hey, that's the garage door guy, right? I mean, it's not a bad thing to be remembered if he changed an industry, but still, like, I want to be more than that. And so thinking about 75 or 80 years old and thinking backwards of saying, what else? Like, we just we went through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We're getting involved in that. And that's just something that's philanthropy, but I want so much more than that. And you know, I want to start my own fund, and I still don't know exactly what yet, because there's so many great causes out there, but like there's so much more, and so much more living to do, and so much more traveling and experience and history. Like, I love history, man.
Yeah, me too.
And like, just like going to Rome and doing like cool shit all the time with people you love. But there's also this piece of me that's like, I'm never going to be the CEO of another company. Like, this is it. This is my last CEO tour. So I shook hands with the private equity guys and told them I'll get them a great return, and I'll probably go along for the next little ride. But I never want to be confined again like this, even though I do enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
It's just the future. This is my last tour.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it.
You're middle-aged now.
Yeah. I don't feel it, but yeah.
I mean, we're all middle-aged.
Yeah. 100%.
Us further than you, unfortunately.
Right. Well, it is cool when you get to a spot, though, when you can kind of get some good mental clarity. And like, to your point, it is the better you feel about yourself physically. I don't know how to explain it, but it does make you feel like I'm sharper. You know, I just feel better about myself, and you carry that into the day. Like, I don't like to work out in the morning. I get up early just to journal.
Yeah.
Journal and kind of get some sweat before I touch work, but it's what I want. I don't mind working out in the afternoon, because now at least Mason can go and do it with me. And it's kind of fun. We get to do something together. But having that, like, feeling better physically has helped me just in really all phases of my life, because you feel like I'm like, you know, hard to fucking kill right now, because I'm like on all four pillars. I'm just ready to like fight.
Yeah.
No,
it's a good feeling.
And you carry that into pretty much everything. And even like, you're like, hey, I don't want to fly here. Like that's because you fly a bunch. But once you get there, like, you're on, like you got a job.
Yeah. I don't mind flying. We were in this little pea shooter, like a 6-seater, to get from Nantucket to Boston. I didn't mind it. But getting up, and it wasn't even hard for me, because I went to bed. I just said, guys, I'm going to bed at 7. Went to bed at 7 at night. And we had to get up it was 1 a.m. here, but it was 4 a.m. there. I got up at 3:45. I didn't mind it. But like, that's the shit. Like, that was hard. And I just was prepared, though. That's the thing. If you prep right. And now I got someone helping, like, to make sure I got all my supplements with me when I go, and the protein shakes, and just hitting everything perfectly. And so, yeah, I would say it's easier. I do get a lot of help, and Bree's phenomenal. Right. Like, without her, I'd be a lost mess.
A lost meth.
I'd be a mess. I'd be on a lot of meth. No.
Shout out to Bree. She might actually listen to this one, because we talked about you personally.
She does
We love
not.
Bree.
She used to think it was so cool to be in the audience in the front row cheering me on. And I don't. But
Now
now
she sits
she's
in the
like,
back and talks to me.
now she's like, I don't even think. Do I need to go to this one?
Chris doesn't even like me in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It'd be different. Tommy wouldn't like you in his audience either because you'd be like, "Hey, Tommy, you said this. Did you really mean to say it like that?" That's why you don't want her in your audience.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're excited to be part of Home Service Freedom again.
Yeah.
It's our couple of years now. We've been involved in it with our partnership with really, it's been, we love it. Like, it's been great. It's cool to be able to do that with our friends too, which
Yeah.
is pretty sweet. And then to, all of our listeners who have made it this long in this podcast. Tommy does give a lot of really great business advice, a ton on his podcast, A Home Service Expert. But says, but dude, you've been bouncing up off of number one like a ton on these Apple podcasts. And I was like, yo, Jim, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like getting to one. I want to get to number one. Marketing podcasts are freaking hard to get to number one in.
Well, you mentioned you really appreciate Sean, my buddy Sean McGraw.
Yep.
Is the next phase for me is attacking home improvement. But we're actually thinking about going to 2 episodes a week.
Wow.
One focused around home service, home improvement, one just business in general, because it opens up the audience. And I feel like selfishly, I've learned more in the podcast than of all the books combined and all the events I've been to.
Yeah, right. So I like about
I
it.
get to ask my own questions and learn. So I'm like, the more popular the guests, not popular, but the more educated, the more successful. In one aspect, it could be just culture.
Yeah.
It could be payroll. It could be anything. But if I could get out of just the home service realm into this other realm, I think it's better for me and A1 and everything else I'm doing. So that's kind of my mentality, is like, how do we grow? And not everybody's going to listen to 8 episodes a month. And I know that, but that's okay. I'm good with it. And I never feel like it's a chore. Like, I actually look forward to my podcast. Like, in the future, when I'm not a CEO anymore, I don't think I'll ever stop making content. I don't believe, I just enjoy it so much.
I for sure went through that slump of like, it is a chore, but it was at the same time as, we have a new private equity partner, and now I've got this new job and I have these new tasks, and we have like all these things where I was like, okay, boy. And then, I brought on, Chad as a co-host, and Chad's super helpful. I'm kidding. Chad, I love busting his chops every chance I get, and he ain't ever going to listen to this anyway.
Yeah.
So, but he always asks super thoughtful questions. That's what I really appreciate about Chad. But it is hard. But then once you kind of refocus, you're like, okay, like I need to get back to bringing on the people, because you forget the purpose of the whole thing in the beginning. Once I went back to the purpose was to bring on the people to share the stories. Like, the whole purpose of this isn't to talk about how successful you are in business. It was to talk about everything else behind that some people don't know. And they hope that can strike a nerve and they go do whatever with their business or their relationship or whatever. But, it's just kind of using these tools that we have to share the stories and the relationships we have to hopefully, like your point is, people say, Tommy helped me, or he was a good guy, or he gave back to me. I'm like, that's cool. Like, you have people that show up. I had to write my own eulogy at this event I did in Texas. I had to write one, like, right that today, what's one thing Anna would say about me if she could be completely open at my eulogy, which would be weird to be that open. And then you had to write one as if it was like your grandson, when, your grandson, like, what would he write about his grandpa?
Yeah.
And it was, then you could kind of change how you would end. And so then I wrote it, so it was weird to see 2 separate versions that I wrote. And I think I do a lot of good.
Yeah.
But I also know where I have not done good, and I've had to go and work on those things. So
that's a good, those are the type of things that I get a lot out of. Like, I can learn a lot. And, I look up to like Jesse Isler and some of these guys, but also I still feel like I got a little bit of time. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely want to do more, and it's prioritization. That's what we talked about. And that's why I keep hiring people, because I'm making the team so strong around me that I got more time. Problem is with a guy like me is I tend to be able to fill it up pretty easily. So I got to be very careful. And I'm not, for those of you that are listening that know me, I'm not trying to say no. In the future, I've been very open with my time. Like, probably too open.
Yeah.
In the future, it's going to be like, hey man, can you just ask me that? I'll make that the first question I answer, but I think everybody could use that information, because, and I don't blame them. A lot of people are like, they want to have a personal relationship. They want to chat for an hour. And like guys like you and Gaynor and like Peterman, always, but it's very hard because there's sometimes thousands of people that are reaching out. And I'm really good at Facebook, but I know there's a lot of Instagram and LinkedIn's that I haven't gotten to. So it's like, if I paid attention to all of them.
So if you really want Tommy, go to Facebook.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the one. Okay, well, listen, we're an hour and 10 minutes into this thing too. So, and do you have somebody waiting in your truck down there for you?
He is waiting because we're getting the what is that called? The internet put into the Sprinter. The Elon Musk. Starlink putting into that. So I kind of hate if I'm not driving my truck, I hate driving around in my truck. Does that make sense? Like if I'm not driving it.
Yeah.
It's a cool truck.
Well, that'd be weird. I drive everywhere I go. My truck and your truck are very similar, except mine's 920 horsepower. And yours is not.
Horsepower. I wouldn't even want that. It's too fast for me. Like it's a ticket waiting to happen.
Chris has never pushed the launch button in his truck. Don't let him fool you.
I'm not either.
Yeah, I want to be able to do more podcasts. Okay, I'm going to wrap this thing up for us. Tommy, appreciate you coming on, dude. This is, like I said, it's cool for us because we have such a personal relationship with you, and I want to be able to have people to hear the rest of the Tommy Mello story beyond the Fendi slippers, and the Rolex watch. By the way, whenever you wore that, I was like, whoa, Tommy actually wore a Rolex watch, and then I put mine on. Then the next time I saw you had it off. I was like, damn it, I'm taking my back off again. But I appreciate you making time to come over here, especially having no time, and I'll look forward to being able to hang out with you here in a few days. So. To our listeners, man, listen, the home service experts, you can find it. He's got you've got Elevate, you had the Home Service Millionaire. That was the OG, one of the OG book. And Facebook, you just got to go to Tommy Mello and find him on Facebook. There's 2 of them. So you pick which one you think it is and see who responds to you. Right. But I appreciate you coming all the way over here, brother. And Anna, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It was very thoughtful.
To see you, Tommy.
So listen, to our listeners, you don't got to do everything, but you got to do something. No, 0
days.